Welcome to the designer class for creating envelopes. I have an envelope here that I've made, and before we look at how to make the envelopes, I want to share with you the envelopes that I created for this class. Now, I made this first envelope probably in 2006, maybe 6 months after I had started digital scrapbooking, and I had shared it, and it was actually very popular. But I made this much differently than I'm going to show you to design now. This is this very simple format. I actually just shared this as a template, and I gave them these PNG pieces, and they were even in the correct positions. You can see this one's on the left and that one's on the right to go on the shape, and allowed them to fill it with any digital scrapbooking paper. Of course, looking back, rather than giving them the PNGs, I probably should have just put it in a PSD file altogether, kind of like a layered template. But I don't think layered templates had become popular yet at the time I made this, and I was still learning Photoshop. I did provide them with a piece of envelope paper, and I even turned it. I thought I was something else for making this, and now it looks silly to me. And I provided them with this piece of envelope paper also, and then this, I gave them this final version. You can see my textures are not really all that good in here. And I was impressed with myself making the vellum where the paper showed through and the cool drop shadows. So I'm going to be sharing this again. I'm going to probably open it up and change that background a little bit and share this in a different way for people to utilize. But I haven't done that yet. Let me show you the next one. This is the second one I made. I made a bunch of these in preparation. I made 5 in preparation for this lesson because I wanted to show you how you can get very creative with envelopes, and I wanted to show you a bunch of different styles. I actually took probably at least 3 hours creating each envelope. You know, if you're going to be a good designer, you need to take a long time to do each piece, and it's not pay attention to details, and think creatively. I have it here. Let's show you. I've offered it in different formats. This particular one was quite complicated, and I don't know why I started with it, but I actually used a lot of gradients on it. I mean, there's gradients across the edge here to make this look more 3D. It's more like an icon. I took the time to make this custom drop shadow so the little flap would seem like it's coming up. And I offered it as an open also, and I made a little custom drop shadow up here at the top. You can see well, you can't really see, but this is a gradient on here to make it look like this is coming off of the paper. And in this particular instance, I offered this a little different than the other ones I'm going to show you, because when I took off the top flaps to save it, this back looked kind of funny. So I just offered the front flap, and people can take this front flap and put it over this whole back. They could use this one as it is, or they could put this over it. And I made a preview. I took time with my preview to show them what they can do. Don't just throw things on your previews. Put things in your envelopes. Show them what they can do with these envelopes. And so I found an old picture of my grandparents and I tucked it in there. So but you're going to see with these this envelope, which is different than the last one, just observe the shape I made. Here's a shape coming down, and I didn't take it all the way to the center. You don't have to take these all the way to the center. You can, but you don't have to. I made this unique shape in the background. I can't remember how I made it. I think I used one of the custom shapes in Photoshop Elements and turned it upside down and lopped it off. I took time to make lots of gradients, but and then I took time to do these things on the edges, which are also gradients. I have a gradient to make it look depth, and then I also have, which is just black and white, kind of with a lowered opacity along each of the edges, but then I also have this gradient that's pink and white. Anyway, let's look at another one. Let's go to number 3. This is the one we're going to be creating here. And if we open it up, I've offered it with the back side, and I actually had to go back and put this crease in here because it didn't look quite right without the crease. I see here now that this is a little thicker than this on this side. See, often let things set for quite a few days. I'm not going to go back and redo this one. I've spent way too much time on it already. But let things set for a few days and then come back. If I were selling it, I might go back and change that. But then again, things aren't perfect when you go buy them in the store either. Machines can be slightly off, so in those instances it's okay. So I've offered them the back of the envelope, and I've offered them a closed envelope like this, and I've offered them the front of the envelope that they can put over the back. And here's what I showed with them that they could do. So here's the closed one, and then this is the back and the front put together. And then I showed them that they could throw some photos in here. So this is the one we're going to be making in this class lesson. We're not. No way can I show you how to make all of these. Oops, that was 3. Let's go to 4. Envelopes come in all different sizes and shapes. This is more like a little pocket, and so I have given them this is just a screen capture that's not supposed to go in there. Whoops, now I've copied it. Okay, I've given them this back, and then I've given them actually a finalized one. These are CU items that I'm giving. In this case, I decided to actually make an element they can just plop on their page and not have to fill. And so these are some CU elements that I bought from Rachel's Scraps. I really like her stuff. And I filled it, and of course right here I had to select this and bring it over the vellum because everything else is between the 2 layers, and this is over both of the layers. And so I'm actually going to give them this because I filled it with CU products. And here is the front, and you can see I took time to make this crazy little drop shadow. I had it without it, and then I ended up going back because you could see it actually looks pretty good on there. And there's my preview that I'm going to give them. They have the back and the front showing them how they can make it and fill it with however they want. And then I have it filled, but I'm actually going to give them this final PNG. So that is another shape idea. You can see I actually created this shape here. You can see the curve, and then I flipped it and put it over here, and I had them overlapping, and then I made this shape here. and this is actually filled with my my vellum style that I made. There's a vellum style in the download area of the forum. I'm not offering them as commercial use, but they're there for you to play with. Let's look at yet another one. This is 4, so let's go to envelope number 5 that I created. And in this case, I decided to only offer it in two, the front and the back, and not closed, because I didn't think it looked too good closed. And so here is the back, and you can see I didn't just leave this white. I actually applied a gradient in here, and I made sure I did a little bit of a custom drop shadow at the top here to make it look like more realistic, like this paper had not been glued down all the way at the top, so to give it some depth. And this was actually, you know, this is a rectangle shape here created, and then this was another shape that I created on top of it. And then let's see, and there's the front, and I kind of like it. You could see I did a custom drop shadow on the top for the people, and I put my vellum, this is my vellum styles on it, and it shows you how to get creative. I filled it with photos here for the example to show them how it works with the little heart vellum. Of course, I could have gotten some, you know, my grandparents kissing in this one. It would have been just as good, but with the heart vellum on the top. But you can see how I left the whole center area free, so it was workable with digital scrapbooking. I mean, I could have filled that with the same, you know, solid colors that I did with some of the other envelopes, and they would have only been able to see what was peeking out above the top. But I chose to make it all vellum just to be creative, so that people could actually see the images, because that's what our scrapbooking is all about. It's all about the images and the journaling, and this made, I think, this envelope a little bit more usable. So think outside the box. And, you know, I just put these edges just a small coming in. I didn't go and bring them all the way in centered. I could have made them a little wider, but I chose to make them thin so people could see through there. So that is that one, and I think I made one more to show you, because I want to inspire you that these things are not, you have to get creative. You're just not doing like I did with my first one and throwing a few things out there. Here is the back of this one, and I actually found some commercial use lace out there, and I did not create the lace. And this one was difficult to make, because when I made the shape and used the shape tool, which is what we're going to be doing, that's why I tucked in the shape tool lesson right before this lesson. So if you're doing these out of order, go back and do that shape tool lesson. But this is actually a circle and a circle, and actually they're kind of more like ovals because I ended up stretching them, and you can see they're not all even. They're very creative and unique, because I took a very long time resizing each one of those circles that I added into my shape in order to get this. And then when I got this all made, I just duplicated it and resized it down for the middle one. So that's the back. Here I'm offering it as a closed envelope, and I got some great texture, CU texture that I have. And here is the front that can go over that back. And then I'm also I have a CU ribbon that I didn't make this ribbon, and I decided to show them how they can get creative with this, and I actually gave them the piece, since it was commercial use ribbon, with the ribbon on it. And then here's my preview to show them how the envelope works. And I found an old photo of my grandma on a little horse and stuck it in there because I felt like the lace was kind of vintage, so I wanted an old photo. I could have done my grandparents kissing in this one too. It would have been appropriate also. But I really like this envelope and how it turned out too. So think about what things you can add to the envelopes to give them, to make it unique, to make them want to use it and go, oh wow, and pull that out of their stash. So I yawned. I apologize. Yeah, think outside the box. And let's go back and look at this real quick. On this shape here, I actually had started with this, and it was just, I actually started with it from one of the other envelopes I made, and probably the one we're going to be making, and it was just a triangle out to here, and I decided to get my shape tool, and I grabbed the elliptical one and made this oval, and I had to keep resizing it. You can see both sides are quite the same. I could have flipped it, duplicated it and flipped it over, I guess, but I didn't. I made it. So I just put it out there until and reshaped it until I got something I thought was unique and different and looked cool. And it took me a long time to make this envelope, and see how it dips down in here. It made it very unique. So really play and take your time. Like I said, it probably took me at least 3 hours to make this envelope, and I sure wish I was making more money for the time I was spending designing, but you're never going to make more money at this until you take your time and get really good at this. You can see I have come a very long way from 2006. So here, remember, you can put papers, buttons. Put buttons on there, bows, other things on your envelopes. Think outside the box and get creative. So let's look. Basically, I'm not going to show you how to fill. I think you can get creative yourself and fill. This is actually filled with some layer styles. And this right here is the drop shadow. I actually selected an area and got a gradient, and you can see then I changed it to the multiply mode, and it was just a black to white gradient on reflective, I think, and then I lowered the opacity all the way down to 16, but you can see what the envelope looks like with it and without it. So little details like that. You can put these little gradient things maybe along the edges here, or even along the edges. Whoops, I moved my piece. Even along the edges here. It's selecting it, so it's making it kind of difficult to see, because sometimes these are glued and you might want to make it look more glued. Since I had an inner drop shadow on my layer style, I didn't do that, but that was an idea I had, was to take a little gradient layer like I did for this crease up here and put it all along the edge so that it looks more like it's see-through and glued. But let's basically, we're going to look at how I created this. First, there's my base, and I made these with the shape layers, of course. So for this layer, it was pretty easy. I'm going to go ahead and make this like green so you can tell my before and after. This shape, of course, is the rectangular, and I just drew a rectangle. I just randomly drew one out there. Then I made this shape, and you can see this shape is a diamond, and then I used the subtract tool to subtract away this diamond. And so let's create a new layer, and I'll show you how I actually made it. Here is the polygonal, and we want 4 sides, and I'm going to hold down my shift key so that this stays. You can see as I turn it, it goes from a box to a diamond. And so I just created it, and then actually I picked up that trick on holding my shift key later. This one isn't actually as straight as it could be, and so I resized it down and got in, I zoomed in really close when I was resizing it to make sure that it went right down into that edge and right down into that edge. And then I went back, got my rectangular tool, and I used the subtract from area and subtracted, and then zoomed in, and you can see I'm well, let's go back and get the shape selection tool, and actually right up to the, let's turn this off. There we go. And I had to zoom in, and you can see I'm a little off. I thought I had it exactly right, so there I am grabbing the rectangle and moving it, and here I'm going to grab the, oops, then I'm going to grab the one that subtracts. Here it is. You have to click on the right one and nudge it out. I'm using the arrow keys so it lines up perfectly. You have to zoom in, and so right now I have this one selected. You can see the bounding box, and if I click off of it, I can then come back in here and select now the diamond if I wanted to go and resize it. And now that I have that diamond shape, is there some peeking in from the old? Somehow I got a layer style on it. I don't know why I have the pink there. What did I do? Wow. I have no idea why that has got a pink border on it. My things are playing funky things on my eye, but I'm not going to fuss with it right now because I didn't come up with that problem the entire time I was doing it before. So let me show you what you can do though so you can differentiate your pieces. If I just double click on this layer thumbnail, it opens up my color picker, and I could just select a slightly lighter color. That way, because they're just template pieces anyway, that way I can easier get into the corners and see if I've really got it lined up or not, and I can see I don't, so I'm going to do it out 2 more arrows, and then I'm going to click off and look, and it looks like I might need to go just a little bit more. Whoops. Why are you doing this? I'm on the wrong tool. Now click on it and just go a couple more spots. and then click on this. It looks like it's not quite in, so take your time. And you know what, I can tell you that even after I thought I had them perfect and I brought them into my previews, one of the envelopes, no matter what I did, I guess it was the vellum layer style, it just kept hanging over the edge too much, and I redid this piece and saved it and redid it and saved it. I can't tell you how many times, till finally I just took this and rasterized it and took a selection tool and lopped it off, because I think it was in the layer style that caused the problem. So now that I have this piece, I can just hit Control J on it and then hit Image, Rotate, and rotate it horizontally. Did it rotate? Didn't rotate. Image. I'm wondering if there's a commit tool not committing here. Something's going on here. Of course, it always happens. You know what, I'm going to redo this because something is not going on right. I don't know what. And we're not going to make this perfect, of course, because I showed you how to take time to do that. And we're going to subtract with it. See, I've got that pink going on again. So, okay, now I'm going to hit Control J, Image, Rotate, Flip Horizontal, and then I just move this shape over here. Oh, there. It's because I got layer styles. I did hit the Enter key, which helped. It committed the shape resizing. And then we can go in here, and so we can work with it a little better. Just change it because, you know, they're just templates. Now let's look at what the next template is. It's this one here. And so this was created, you can see. I made the diamond shape. Then I used the rectangle to subtract off the top and a rectangle to subtract off the bottom. So let's create a new layer and do that. We have the polygonal. I'm going to hold down my Shift key to make sure it stays proportionate, and I would take time again to line up my sides. Of course, I'm kind of off the page here, but so I would move it up. But then I'm going to get the rectangular tool and subtraction, and I would line this up perfectly as I showed you before. And I would also subtract from the top and lop it off. Let's turn off the old one. I'm going to hit the Enter key because I think that was a big difference. So you can see I didn't do very good because I lopped off too much of the top. Let's go to the selection tool and grab that and just bring it back up so it lines up right with that point, with those 2 points. And then, you know, I would take time to move this one too. So it was perfect. Hit the Enter key. Who knew? Hitting the Enter key was so important. I could make this even another color so I can tell my pieces. I think that was the problem I was having earlier. Hit the Enter key. It in the previous, maybe because I have this collapsed for recording purposes, there was a green check mark up at the top previously that I was hitting to commit those changes in the selections. So look for that or hit your Enter key. That's what I'm recalling now, is there was a green check mark, but I guess because I have this collapsed for recording purposes, maybe it's over in here and we can't see it. So then I needed to create the next piece, which was this one up here, and you can see by it that once again it's just a rectangular piece and it has been lopped off. So let's go and make that. I mean, not a rectangular, a diamond. I made a diamond piece once again, and of course resize it, and then get the rectangle tool, the subtraction, and subtract from that. Now I need to bring it down a little bit, so I'm going to get that selection tool and line it up perfectly. And I'd hit that little green check mark if I could see it, but instead I'm hitting the enter key on the keyboard, and there you can see I have and I don't know why, but I'm getting drop shadows already on these things. Oops, you can see I didn't quite make that big enough. Look at that. So I'm going to resize this. There we go. But the drop shadows are coming in already. I don't know why that is. That's odd. But I made custom drop shadows for each of these layers so that they were angled correctly, and took a long time at that. And then let's look at this one. This one I actually, when I made it, all I did was to duplicate this layer, and let's change the color. Let's change it, drastically. Yuck, I don't like the too bright. And then I came back in with my polygonal tool and used the subtract and drew another diamond, and I'm subtracting it out and I'm moving it around so that all that it is leaving is that edge. And so now this layer, all it has left is that darker green edge, and I just used this layer here and to create it, and added one more shape to it. And then you can turn off these two, and then there's this layer, which is for a folded envelope. And you can see what I did was just another diamond, and then you could see a rectangle down here to lop off the tip so it's not pointed, and a rectangle to take off the top. So let's do that. Let's make this. I'm going to create a new layer. And here we go again, making those diamond shapes. And then I got the rectangular, chose subtract from, and I lopped off a little bit of that, and I lopped off all of that. And of course, you can come back in here and tweak all that as you need to. This is all kind of wacky right now, wacky looking. So I had a choice of filling this with the closed or with it's hard because I got some of my old other shapes in here that I created from my original, wherever it is. It made it kind of hard. There it is. And so you could share it just like this after you fill it in with layer styles, or group it with textures, or whatever you do with it. As I said, add that line, that gradient line for the space in there, or whatever else you want to do. And then when you get it exactly the way you want it, you're going to take these pieces, and then crop it down and save that as a PNG, and then call it back, and then you're going to reverse it, and I don't remember where they were. One was here, well, there's a pink one, and here, and then go back and turn these off, and then just save those three together. And I have a crease there still showing, so I'd have to take that off, but then save that as another piece, so that they can actually have a front and a back and fill it. But I'm going to tell you that even after this is number 3, that even after I finished this and I went to make my preview, I can tell you many times I went back and tweaked it and redid it, because it's really good to go and put it in a preview and actually try to make it usable, so that you're actually using it, because when you actually use it, then you see things that need changing. And I tweaked it, I can't tell you how many times, till I came to a perfect final thing that I thought was best. So anyway, that's how you make the shapes for an envelope. It's not really too hard. It's just taking your time with it and making sure it's just right and that the corners meet and you have everything where you want it. And then filling it. Filling it actually takes a long time too, choosing how to make it look realistic with layer styles and papers and things. So I can't wait to see what kind of shapes you make. Let me show you real quick. I was going to finalize that, but let me show you here. On this shape here, I actually used the shape I made here for that other envelope I was talking about, and I just came in here with the ellipse tool, and I chose add, and I just added an ellipse shape. And then I went and got my shape selection tool and held down my control key so I could change this so it was disproportional. And I just kept playing with it until I got something I liked. And well, you could see I would need to keep playing with it because the corner isn't matching, but that's how I added to it to make that other shape. You gotta use your imagination. Got to use your imagination. So yeah, have fun, and I can't wait to see what you do and how creative and original you get.